Hey Nick, how you doing?
Hi Adrian, how are you? Welcome back.
Right, so harvest is over. I thought you'd be surfing. It's quite busy in here, but it's like, where's the surfboard?
No, we finished about a week ago, but now the hard work starts. I mean, as you can see on this board here, these are all the different moving parts. We've got lots of fermentations going on whites and reds. We're still busy doing pump overs. The Cabernets are still going through the cold soak period. So no, this weekend's booked up. No surfing. We're going to be right here.
Yeah. Is this for the party last night? Wild.
Yeah, no. This is just shows you where we're going. So these are all wild fermentations. So yeast used in the Oldenburg cellar. All natural yeast. So this gives me a few.
That's a first, right?
Yeah. This gives me a lot of sleepless nights. But touch wood. Everything is going dry. The sugars are falling, and as you can see, there are lots of sugars in the minus here. Lots of them are getting food, which is the dead yeast hulls that we feed to the fermentations.
Right.
Yeah, so it's the only little bit of additive that we've used this year is a little bit of sulfur, but the rest is all organic and all natural.
Oh, that's nice. That's lovely. So let's see. Well, you got the whites up here, and they're already in barrel.
Yeah, this year everything was whole bunch pressed, all the whites. Everything's either in barrel, foudre, and then we've got some concrete eggs too. So the slightly fresher components that I use for the CL white goes into the concrete eggs. So you can see all the whole bunching. We've got some Syrahs here where we've done some also some whole bunch fermentation where we've actually put the whole clusters in. Okay. And you see the Syrahs are in the small little tank. That tank one's a little 3-ton fermenter. Nice. We're busy doing punch downs on it at the moment. And then last to come in are the Cabernets, so they're still sleeping, still cold soaking, but a few are waking up now. So we're actually doing some pump overs. So I should actually take you through. Let's go. I'll show you the pump overs, and I'll actually show you some of the whites that are just doing their last little bit of fermentation in barrel. And there's actually some malolactic that's kicked in on some of the white barrels.
Oh, cool. That's cool. Yeah, no, I'd like to taste that, definitely. No, this is great. I mean, is it okay that people can see this, because should be top secret, right?
I know. We'll just fuzz some of it out here. I'm sure Taste can do a great job there.
Yeah. Have you got any reds in barrel yet, or they're just?
Yeah, we got some reds. So the reds are going through malolactic.
We pressed
some Syrah and some Merlot and our Grenache, which is busy going through malolactic in barrel. And you'll actually see when we go outside, we've actually put some of the barrels outside, and whenever the sun comes out, we put them out in the sun, because malolactic takes place at 20 degrees Celsius. And with all this rain we've been having this season, the cellar's quite cold, so we really need to, whenever we get a little bit of sunshine, we park all the barrels. They look like a bunch of Dussies lying in the sun, bubbling away.
Well, I must admit, just on the harvest, I think, shameless tip for you and Christo. You guys predicted the rains so well and managed to harvest everything without any rain influence. But if we'd left it 3 more hours, it seemed, would be in this long stretch of.
Last Friday we were picking, and we basically just finished and it started drizzling. So it's been a challenging one. I'm glad. I was actually chatting to one of my winemaking colleagues yesterday, and he's still got some grapes hanging. So I don't want to know what that looks like.
I know, because it's a bit like the humidity is a bit like Singapore at the moment. So you wouldn't want to be in that position. But no, I think you guys, well done. You guys got the grapes in right on cue. So that's perfect. Let's go taste some wine.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right. Yeah, so at the moment we've got some of the last sugar being fermented out of the Chenin Blanc. These Chenins I like to ferment in our older 300-litre barrels. And then we've also got some foudres fermenting. But you'll still see some bubbles coming out of here. That's basically the last of the sugar coming out. And then malolactic fermentation has actually started on some of the batches. So these have now been fermenting probably for about just over a month. And as you can see, the juice is still quite cloudy. We've got Clive here in the background, busy stirring up the barrels, keeping the yeast in suspension. So, it's just about when you stir like that, the yeast basically mixes through the wine. It becomes active again. We saturate or try and get out the last little bit of carbon dioxide from the barrels. And yeah, as you saw on the board, 100% wild yeast fermentation this year. So we need to keep these little critters happy.
How long will Mallow take, or do you let it go all the way through?
Yeah, so I look at the analysis on the wines. We also taste the wines. If the wine's got a nice high acidity, I'll let it go through Mallow. If the wine's got slightly lower acidity, then I might just do a little bit of Mallow and stop it. So it all depends from batch to batch. But you know, if you smell this, you'll find there's still quite a lot of primary characteristics. There's still quite a lot of pineapple and tropical fruits on the wine, and this will actually disappear as the yeast basically eats the last little bit of sugar. And then what we'll do is just make a call on Mallow and then add a little bit of sulfur to preserve it. And then the bungs will go in. We'll pull out these fermentation bubblers, and we'll screw in our solid bungs. And then the rock and roll starts, where we start rolling the barrels on Monday mornings, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards. That's why they're on these wooden slates, so that we can stir up the lees and stir up the dead yeast cells. And those yeast cells start to break down, and they actually give the wine a beautiful mouthfeel. So this Chenin that we've got fermenting here is from a 45-year-old block, bush vine, unirrigated block.
45 years. Wow.
Yeah, so it's showing a lot of fermentation.
Maybe a bit older.
But yeah, still a lot of Grenadella characteristics here. But we're expecting to get quite a lot of citrus and some lovely lanolin characters coming off here.
It feels like the wine's in two halves, doesn't it? It's like
the wines are quite raw at the moment now, and it's quite difficult to think that in a year's time you actually could be drinking this wine. You know, it's still quite a little bit disjointed. It still needs to find itself. But also when we add that little bit of sulfur, it's going to bind the wine together. It's going to pop the fruit. But now it's just it's fermenting and it's quite awkward.
Oh yeah, but you can taste those flavors. They're just sort of like all over your palate. It's really, really rich, aren't they?
Yeah. And what I love about these old vineyards is that we have this beautiful viscosity, and it gives us a lot of texture on the wines.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So last year we started using some of the old vineyard fruit, and if you come out and you taste that 2022, you'll see there's a lot of structure on the wine, and this 2023 vintage is going to give us a lot of that same characters. We've thrown some extra Chenin vineyards into the mix, found some beautiful gems. And I can't wait to see how they all turn out.
Oh, it's exciting, isn't it? No, fantastic. Brilliant, okay. Well, what else should we look at?
Yeah, I think let's maybe take a walk over. I'm going to show you a little bit of pump over. We're doing some pump overs on some reds at the moment, and you can see how the extraction process takes place. Yeah, so I think we're doing a little pump over here. Thank you, Clinton.
Thanks.
Right, so yeah. Clinton's just poured us a little bit of OV5, which is the per se vineyard. This is our 18. I think the vineyard's 19 years old this year. Situated on the coffee stone and making our top reserve Cabernet. So this little block was picked just before we had the first big rain. We pulled it off just before that, and at the moment, Clinton's busy doing a rack and return. So this is part of the process. We do the pump overs, where we basically will put the juice into the tray here, and then suck it out and then spray it over the top. You can see Memory. How's it, Memory? Memory at the top there. She's busy doing the
return,
the rack and return.
Yeah.
But during the lifetime of the wine and during the fermentation, we actually do two rack and returns. So where we basically drain the whole tank. We actually take all the fermenting juice out of the tank, we pump it into another tank, and then from that tank we pump it back over again. So we basically separate the solids from the juice, and then come back again. And that's a great extraction technique. Spraying basically almost like a fireman style, spraying that juice over the top of the cap. So so this is the second rack and return. The Cabernets are looking brilliant here. That block OV5 or the per se block, really small berries, really good concentration. You can look at that beautiful colour.
Oh, colour's fantastic, really deep, isn't it? So this would have been,
basically, we picked this, we put it into the cold room overnight, got it nice and cold, then we hand sorted every single little berry, into the tank for cold soaking, where we actually left the wine for about 6 days at 12 degrees Celsius, just to extract color and to extract lovely flavor. And then the alcoholic fermentation, as we started warming up the tank, it kicked in naturally. Then wild yeast started fermenting it, and at the moment you'll see it's still quite sweet.
There's no alcohol? There's
a little bit of alcohol.
Like 1% or something, yeah.
Still a little bit
you
of
can't
alcohol
hardly taste it, yeah.
But now's the time to start extracting the tannin from the seeds and also from the skin.
Right.
And to get this beautiful
build
color.
The structure, yeah.
So that's where the rack and return is so serious. So this will still probably keep fermenting till it's dry for about another week or so. And then what I like to do is to post-macerate, where I actually leave the wine on the skins for about another month. And myself and Jürgen will on a daily basis taste the wine, and when we find that sweet spot where the wine is beautiful, round and soft, and those tannins are sort of polymerizing, and we get that aha moment, that's when we'll drain it and
into
then
the barrel
and then basket press it. And then malolactic in barrel. So we've actually got some barrels fermenting at the moment going through malolactic. So maybe I can quickly show you some of the red barrels going through malolactic. So let's take a walk.
Yeah, no, it's really, it's fantastic taste, hasn't it?
You're starting to get that real grapiness, that lovely berryness, raspberry, the plum character. Yeah, no, I think it's a great year for Cabernet.
Yeah, no, and that was like that, right from what you and Christo told me, right in the middle of the, you just went to certain parts. It wasn't like one corner or whatever, it was right in the middle and just certain rows. You know, more vines, other rows, less vines.
So this block we actually picked in 3 different passes.
Yeah.
So this was like a little core where the vines were slightly less vigorous, the fruit was slightly riper, and we found that perfect flavor development. So Christo went through with danger tape. He marked off a certain area, and we only picked that area. And it's a little 3-ton fermenter.
Perfect.
So, I think it's going to be a great component for the per se.
And then that was just before that rain. So you then had rain for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And then we had to wait, another
a
week to 10 days?
Yeah, about 10 days before the flavors developed again. Because of course with the rain, the berries would have absorbed that water, the sugars fell, you would have lost some concentration, but then the sun came out and we started picking up sugar concentration again, the flavor started to develop, and then we picked at the optimal time. So
no, it's great, exciting, isn't it? Fantastic.
You can see the cilia basically catches all the skins that come through, any pips that come through, so that we don't end up pumping that over the top, because sometimes when it runs through the pump, some of those pips can be broken up and it releases tannin, which we're not looking for. We actually want to aerate it in this in this open little tank here. So as it splashes, it absorbs air, some alcohol blows off, some heat blows off, some carbon dioxide blows off. The yeast gets a little bit of oxygen, and then it gets stronger.
Revitalized.
And it just keeps going. So it's a very important part of the fermentation process is giving this fermenting juice, or what we call must, oxygen the whole time
life.
to keep it ticking on.
Nice. Can we throw this in here or?
Yeah.
There we go. Look at that. That's a great color, isn't it? Really nice.
Yeah, so this is one of my sun babies. This is a block of Syrah.
Okay.
Up against Rondekorp OV9. It's the middle of the block that we picked out, and on a very granitic site. And this wine is actually going through malolactic fermentation. So it's gone through the whole fermentation process. We pressed it in the basket press, and then that juice we put into barrel for natural malolactic fermentation. So malolactic, very necessary on red wines. It's a way of stabilizing the wine, that it doesn't go through malolactic in the bottle. And the thing about malolactic, it changes malic acid, which is quite a tight, astringent acid, to lactic acid, which is a much softer acid. So it's important for red wine to go through this all the time. And then one of the things about malolactic is it's a bacterial fermentation. So remember, with the yeast we did an alcoholic fermentation, and it was a yeast fermentation. This is again bacteria which does this. So all right, so there we go. This one we did a bit of whole bunch fermentation, so slightly lighter in color. What's great about whole bunch fermentation is that you get a slightly lower alcohol too. So at the moment, if you smell this wine, going to get a little bit of, it starts to form a little bit of a caramelly characteristics, and that's the malolactic. So if we had to look inside this barrel, you'll see a very fine fizz, and the carbon dioxide that's released by the bacteria is a very fine bacteria. So it's almost like if you put your ear to the barrel, it sounds like a fizzing type of character that you'll get here. So yeah, malolactic will probably take about a month. Once malolactic's finished, we'll send in the analysis to the laboratory to look at the malic acid level. If it's under 0.2 milligrams per liter, then we'll sulfur up. So then we'll add sulfur, and then this wine will spend between 16 and 18 months in the oak before bottling.
And this is a nice old barrel as well, right?
Yeah. So on the Syrah, I'm not a big fan of the new oak. I like to use slightly older oak. You know, Syrah's got so much characteristic and personality already, and so much fruit to give that you don't need, you know, so much oak. So a portion of this block is being aged in the Foudres, in our Stockinger Foudres, and then some of it in the 300s, and then we've got a few 500 litre barrels here too. But the idea with the malolactic is we want to keep these barrels nice and warm, so that's why they're not in our barrel cellar. They're out here in the sun at 20 degrees Celsius, and that's the perfect condition for malolactic to take place. So.
Right.
You'll see the acid's still quite tart. And that malic acid needs to convert to the softer lactic, which is a milk acid.
Right.
And you'll just see the wine's going to become more palatable. So these are the processes we have to do to keep the wine stable in the bottle, and to make sure that, you know, when you pull the cork, it doesn't pop in your face from extra gas that's been formed. So
that's great.
So now I think the potential is here. This is a nice light component. It's a very aromatic component, and this will be blended with some of our other Syrah components. To form possibly the Stone Axe or the Oldenburg Vineyards Syrah. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. So this is what we think. This is an outstanding harvest for us. I mean, it seemed like we had perfect build up and
yeah, no, 2022 started great. You know, luckily we got our grapes off before the big rains came. So I'm very relieved about it. But otherwise, it's been quite a cool harvest. The quality is looking great. And I'm very happy with what we've got in the barrel at the moment. So
no, that's superb, and it's it's our 20th anniversary at Oldenburg this year. 20 years of doing this. I think not quite the 20th vintage, but certainly we've got a number of vintages under our belt. So it's nice to have another strong vintage coming through. So,
going from strength to strength.
Strength to strength.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.